All right, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to promptly publish details of the 400 billion naira saved so far from the removal of fuel subsidy. Now, the group is also demanding information on the measures in place to ensure that such savings are not embezzled or misappropriated. And they are urging the president to instruct the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, and Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to monitor the spending of all savings from subsidy removal forthwith. Now, according to the group, and I quote, unless the government is transparent and accountable to Nigerians on how it spends the savings from the removal of subsidy on petrol, the removal will continue to undermine the rights of Nigerians and increase their vulnerability to poverty and social deprivation. Transparency would ensure that the funds saved from the removal of subsidy are not diverted into private pockets and increase public trust and confidence that these savings would be used to benefit Nigerians. Well, we do have guests joining us today. We have
John
Akirili joining us virtually. And who?
Solomon Indahi.
Oh, yes, Solomon Indahi joining us virtually. Good morning, gentlemen.
Can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, that's the voice. That's the voice I know. Good morning, John. Thanks for joining us this morning.
And Solomon, can you hear us? Good morning.
Yes, good morning. I can hear you, and thank you for having me.
All right, thank you.
All right, great. So, does this come as good news to you? The fact that a group is asking the president to be accountable for the monies saved so far from the removal of subsidy?
Okay. I think it's a very good idea. I've always liked how SERAP operates. SERAP seems to be doing a lot of work for the masses of Nigeria in terms of asking government key and relevant questions that ordinarily the citizens might not have the courage or the capacity to do. But sometimes we need to look at some of these questions they ask, how realistic are they? You know, I'm a big fan of everything being done transparently and holding government accountable, as I've mentioned. But then sometimes you have to be realistic. This particular request from SERAP, I've looked at it. I know Kolawole Oluwadare personally. I was with him like 2 weeks ago here in Abuja for a training. I know how they think. This particular request might not be actionable. And, you know, you have to look at your own integrity as an organization. If you keep on making requests such as this and the government is not responding, very soon a lot of people will start to see it as if you're politically motivated or something. I for sure know that SERAP has no political affiliation. SERAP will do this to any government at any time. But some of the questions is becoming, according to what one of my colleagues says, becoming too much. You know, so I think some of these requests are not realistic, you know, giving them 1 week. I'm sure, I'm not speaking for the government, but I just want to imagine that when this is brought in front of the president, he will just fling the fire, you know, because nobody will expect him to honor such. So I think maybe it's getting too much. They need to be more realistic in some of the kind of requests they make. I know it's for the good and betterment for all Nigerians, but they're having a better country. But when it starts to become too much, it loses its responsibility.
All right, okay. John, this next question is for you. What area would you suggest the subsidy money be reinvested in?
Thank you for having me. Good morning to all of the viewers all over the world. I think for me, this money that we are saving should be evidently used in terms of agricultural development, because I know from that singular sector alone, millions of jobs can be created. Okay, so I think there are so many value chain in the agriculture sectors that needs to be filled up. So if we are having these billions of naira, you know, saved, and we pump that into agricultural sector, looking at all of the states of the federation, looking at what each and every state is really competent in producing in terms of their topography and their soil texture, and what can grow naturally in all of these states. So can we help enhance such practices in all the states, make it more mechanized, so that we can have more products from different states, and then the government will see that we have more jobs for our young people, young population, we have more food, we also get foreign exchange. So agriculture will give us like, it's more like a four-way solution that if that is solved, job creation will be on the increase, unemployment will be on the decrease. We get food sufficiency in terms of feeding our population, and also we have enough food to export to West African countries, even other countries of the world. So number 4 is that will also help us get some foreign exchange, and then we can have some balance in our FX, since we know that we don't really export things. And so that has always been a problem for us, and that's why the dollar is always on the increase. So I think that will help us increase our exportation, that will help us create more jobs, that will help us give food sufficiency. And that will also place us, that's as the giant that we ought to be in terms of feeding the whole of Africa when our agriculture sector is on the right path. So I think 400 billion naira will go a long way in terms of, acquiring good seedlings, acquiring better machineries and farm implement and tools that are in the 21st century, practice, and that can make farming more lucrative, more attractive for other people to come in, even most of the young people. And that is just the way to go. And also, if you also look at the area of digital economy, there's also another area this money can also be deployed, because these are the 2 areas that I think will always get the interest of the young people. And if truly we are serious of reducing the over 60% of young population that are unemployed, agriculture and digital economy will help us absorb this chunk number of young people. And so I think if such amount of money is in agriculture and digital economy, then I think that's just a good way to go.
All right, John. I was going to ask you a question. I was going to ask you, going by what the other guest said, I can't remember his name now. Solomon, yes. Solomon did say, the social, economic, and account, the group, yes, that they're doing a little too much. Do you share that same view? And he also pointed to something. He said, this doesn't seem like a realistic. This doesn't seem realistic, that the president may not honor this sort of request. Do you think so?
Well, I think Solomon is spot on. Serap should also know they have been in this country for God knows how long, and they have been giving some of these orders out in times past. How many of these orders have been carried out? And so they should not continue in that line. It's only a fool that keep doing the same thing the same way and expect a different result. So since this is a new administration, I think they should have a different approach, of going about getting transparency and accountability when it comes to governmental and public funds. On that one, I give them the kudos, but then they should know that there are better ways of doing things, and they should check other practical and better ways of approaching this government. 7 days for me, is neither here nor there. But the point is, either 7 days or no 7 days, let's not use that timing, as a yardstick for discarding the efficacy of their intention. And I think that is what we should speak more about. That accountability and transparency in terms of how much was saved from subsidy and how will the money be expended. I think that is the goal of their intention, and that is what Nigerians should stick on to. So let's not look at the dates. The dates for me is neither near nor there, but then the goal of it is for them to see that there's transparency, there's accountability, and this money is expended in a way that will affect ordinary Nigerians.
But John, do you think that SERAP had to write to request that we see the accountability of that 400 billion naira? Isn't it something that the government ought to do? This is a new dispensation, and that should be the way this dispensation should commence with.
Well, I think for me, we should look at it this way, all right? And the way we should look at it is simple. One way we should look at it is the fact that SERAP should understand that Nigeria is not used to this kind of system of accountability and transparency. Okay? We are not used to that system. And so, if you have a new government, I think they should work to make them to be on their toes, which they are doing now, and then to make sure that they should ask for it. Now, what SERAP is asking for, ordinarily in a sane clan, is what every citizen should know. There's no secrecy in government. If I, as a governor of a state, get an allocation and I'm spending it on, there's nothing. Why do you think some people do town hall meetings? Why? Why do they tell senators to go back to their constituency and give report and feedbacks? Is to tell the people this is the amount of money that is allocated to our constituency for constituency projects, and this is the amount, this is the breakdown, this is what we have done so far. It makes the people, hold the public office holder accountable. And that is what every Nigerian should do. Not only the job of Sarah, but the job of you here and myself here. We should hold our government officials accountable. Why? Because we voted for them. All right? Either you vote for them or you don't vote for them. For the fact that they are in office with majority of the votes, they become your leader and you should hold them accountable. You should ask questions. And these questions are things that should be in the public domain. If we get subsidy removed and it's in the public domain, the reality and hardship is in the public domain, then why do you now think you should hold the information of the money that was saved from this same subsidy from the people? I think it's not the way to go. The way to go is make it plain, make it simple, make it open, make it transparent, and then so that people can ask the questions because they are the ones buying the fuel at 5 naira per liter.
All right, coming to Mr. Ndahi now. Are you still with us? Let me establish that first. Oh, unfortunately, he's no longer with us on the show. Well, we do hope we get him back. I'll stay with you now. Now, let's look at the fact that the government said it was going to chase after oil theft, stop oil theft. Service chiefs have been given a mandate to ensure that, those stealing the nation's oil are caught, but no name has been mentioned. And we do know that there is a cabal involved in this. Now, are we really going to see the supposed monies being saved put to good use without, first of all, apprehending or prosecuting those that have been, culpable, those that have been using the nation's funds to enrich themselves?
I think for me, what this government should do is to consolidate on what previous government has been doing when it comes to oil theft, oil vandalism, pipeline vandalism,
Which is?
and bunkering, as far as my Delta region is concerned. But more importantly, if you are dealing with oil theft, also you should also deal with the cleanup of the polluted areas where this oil is being drilled from. So these two should go hand in hand. What will that do for you as a country? It will make the community, see these projects, of you drilling oil from their own zone as their own project. And they are going to protect those facilities. And so you won't be spending those billions of naira in terms of security, securing those pipelines. Because once the people own the project themselves, they will safeguard this project themselves. And anybody amongst them who wants to be a vandal will be fished out in no time. So you can save the cost of that billions of naira you're wasting on security, securing the pipelines. Okay? So that can be pulled back into community development programs. Get their young people, trained, get them educated, have good facilities for them in their community, because that is where this oil is coming from. And they feel the brunt of the polluted area, their livelihood is cut out of that. So that should be treated. On the other hand, for me, I don't think chasing these people will be the solution. The point is, if you get them arrested, you can do prosecution, fine. But then block these holes and redirect this channel so that we can have increase in our barrels produced per day, and that can also give us increased funds. Now, if you block the holes and you're able to maximize all that you have to drill out from the well, then you know that will increase our output, and maybe we can meet up with our OPEC quota for the first time as a nation. And if we're able to meet up with our OPEC quota and do more than that, you see that would be an increase in revenue generation. An increase in revenue generation will not have budget deficits, and then we can have more money to fund our budget and make sure that projects are executed, and then to get to the average Nigerians on the road. So there are some people it's a cover, and these people are not hidden. If you go to all of these oil producing regions, I can tell you, you can get one or two names. It's only when the government is not serious. And that's because some of these people who are involved in oil bunkering are big fish. And these big fish must have been part of people who sponsor their campaigns during the electioneering. So coming back to them might be this or that. So I don't want us to waste funds, but rather let's just block the holes and then start from there. Because going back there, you waste more money. At the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. Now, Asari Dokubo was on national TV and he visited the president, and he was mentioning him. Someone like Asari Dokubo, someone like Tom Polo. No, these are guys who are in the creeks, and they know all of these people. They can give you the army generals that he got. They can give you the naval officer that he got. They can give you all their names. Okay? And because some of these people that Asari have mentioned are collaborators. Okay? How? Let me ask you a question. When they tell you that they are doing oil bunkering, it's not 25 liters of oil we're talking about here. We are talking of a vessel that can take as high as 2 million barrels. 2 million barrels from a place. And do you know how many days it takes them to load the vessel for 2 million barrels? And you are telling me that our people, our officers, our naval officers on the waterways do not know that a vessel will leave the Gulf of Guinea and come into our shores, and we don't know. That same vessel will come and get loaded and then leave. And another said they don't know. They know. Some of these people are collaborators, and that's what I was telling you. You cannot steal oil from Nigeria if you don't have your leg in the armed forces, in the naval, in the NCDS, civil defense. So you must have key people in this region, because these are sections of different people. That's why they say it's a cabal. All right. These are people who are not directly involved when it comes to off-taking of oil, but they are involved in the process, in the transaction chain. They are involved, and that's why I started saying these people. So we know all of them, but let's not waste the funds of the country. But the point, let's stop that action. Once the action is stopped, increase our OPEC generation, and then we can move from there. And if they like those ones that have been named, they can be prosecuted, and then they can return some of those looted funds that they have used. And some of the products that are using money to build, the government can actually auction them, or make them government institutions, or convert them to government hotel or something, and then that can generate more funds for the government. But I think that's a good way to go for me.
All right. So let's look at the would I say one of the nitty-gritty problem. Corruption is an endemic problem that we go through here. How are we going to make sure that it doesn't crumple what the initial prospect, the positive prospect of subsidy removal is? How do we ensure that corruption is not infused in this?
It depends on the players, because it takes two to tango. All right. Apart from the governmental will of the government to say that we are saving funds from subsidy. Subsidy for us is a scam. We know it's a scam. Now, if subsidy is gone and you have saved money, and if this money if an average Nigerian on the streets do not feel the impact of this removal of this money saved, then it means that those who are behind fuel subsidy are scammers. The government that promised to remove fuel subsidy and make life better is even a bigger scammer. It's a bigger fraudster. If you have accused somebody of fraudulent activities and you're saying, okay, who will do it better? But in your own case, it's even worse than even the person that is doing it initially. So it means that the government also will become a fraudster. So I think the government on this should look at a way, of making sure that they are accountable. And that should start from their appointees now. Anybody holding any portfolio, please, when you have a call to come, even before the call to come to the public and address the people. Give statements, give explanations, talk to Nigerians, speak to Nigerians, because you are in that office to work for Nigerians. And I think that's just the way to go. Corruption for me is a capital C that should be crushed, because if it's not crushed, all of this we are doing is just joking. And that is the real fact. Except to take corruption out of it, then let the money allocated for each and every sector be expended in the right manner, in the right proportion, accountability and transparency. Once we have these two things, we are good to go. But without that, it will just be, a case of moving around a circle or a case of pouring water into a basket and waiting for the basket to get filled up. I don't know, maybe to get filled up in Nigeria, but I don't think it can never get filled up.
That's interesting.
All right then. Well, thank you very much, John, for your views here. But we do have another topic that we're delving into right away, and we'd like you to stay on for this one. Now we're talking about the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. Now NEMA has said that 14 states in Nigeria are likely to witness heavy rainfall, which could lead to flooding. Lagos Territorial Coordinator of the agency, Ibrahim Farinloye, listed the states to be Plateau, Kano, Sokoto, Delta, Kaduna, Akwa Ibom, Adamawa, Katsina, Kebbi, Zamfara, Borno, Jigawa State, Kwara, and Niger states as states that are likely to experience heavy rainfall and then subsequent flooding. Now, he urged the relevant stakeholders in these states concerned to take precautionary measures to mitigate the flooding and prevent loss of lives and property. We also know that government has, asked people to move to higher grounds. Those living in low topography areas have been asked to move to higher grounds and changing houses. For those that it's the residential. All right, on your screen you will see, just a glimpse of what some Nigerians are having to go through every time it rains. Now, what do you make of this order to take precautionary measures and move to higher grounds? And we know we have our own problems, but what do you make of it?
In this particular area, we actually have NEMA spokesman, Ibrahim Farinloye. I mean, he'll be in a very good position to actually talk about this. We're expecting him to come in for this conversation, to join us virtually in it.
All right.
He needs to explain basically how they intend to go with this.
All right. While we wait for him, John, let us know what you think, really, because it's not the first time we're hearing things like this.
NEMA is doing a good job, and this is what we expect from a government agency that's very effective, is to give warnings and signals to Nigerians to let them know this is what is coming, this is what we're expecting, and that we should prepare for it, so that when it comes, the effects, or let me say the dangers that comes with it, might be mitigated and can be prepared well ahead. That will minimize the level of loss, the level of destruction, and the level of human lives that might be lost. And I think that's a very good way for NEMA to go. But on the other hand, is for me to speak to the populace themselves.
All right.
Okay. And I'll speak to the populace in this regard. We always talk about the government and to give government the blame when it comes to their own turn. But when it comes to the turn of Nigerians, also, we should also share the same portion of blame to Nigerians.
Okay.
I think we should look at the habit of disposing our wastes.
Okay.
That, for me, has become a generational issue that needs to be cured.
All right.
And that is to average Nigerians. Okay. So we should look at how to dispose our waste properly, so that we avoid blockage of waterways.
Okay.
All
Thank
right?
you. Thank
And
you,
once
John. Thank you. We actually have joining us virtually NEMA spokesperson Ibrahim Farinloye. Good morning, Mr. Ibrahim Farinloye. Welcome to VOP this morning. Okay, we're still trying to reconnect with him. He was in, but now he's out. John, let's continue with you because it's important that he tells us. We need to know what strategy they intend to deploy. This menace I will call it a menace because it's something that we can actually take care of. Earlier on the paper review this morning, that is the headlines. Cyril Abakwa, in-house analyst, talked about the fact that there are countries that are actually surrounded by water. Basically, the makeup of that country is water, but they live well, they live okay. Why can't we employ measures to curtail this perennial flooding whenever rain comes? Rain is a good thing, but it almost feels like we're always scared when it wants to rain.
I think for me, it falls back to the leadership. Okay, when you talk of all the countries who live virtually on water or who have water surround them, one of such countries is Japan. And I don't think you can even hear visual flooding. Why? Because they're able to, prepare for it and channel this water into, instead of it to be a disaster, it becomes something useful for them. All right. So if you are working on power generation. This time of flooding is a good time for you to even get good volume of water that can be used to in your dam to power electricity and can increase your power generation. But in our own case, reverse is the case. So I think as a people and as a government, we should sit up straight. We should listen to the cautions that NEMA is giving to us as people, move to higher lands. But ordinarily, should people even be living in the lower lands? People ought not to be living in the lower lands. That's just it. Those places you call lower lands are like waterways. In a scenic land, there are waterways where the water, even when you have excess flood, those are places where the water can, have enough room, for the water to flow, and then it can be channeled from that region into a different place, and that water can be contained, and no life will be lost, no property will be destroyed. So I think for us now, is a new dawn, and it's time for us to start doing new things. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I think people should listen to the order of NEMA to relocate to higher lands. If they have their life, if their life is so precious to them, they should relocate so that we don't have any issue of casualty. I was speaking about the issue of waste disposal. It is a very endemic issue in the country. You see people who drive even in their cars and they eat, maybe drink bottled water, or you see them wind down to throw the PET bottle outside. I think when people go to jail for throwing PET bottle on the road in the street of Lagos, that will serve as a deterrent to show people that you should be responsible as a citizen to dispose your waste properly. Okay? And I think the government should also look at a way of having recycling processes, because all of these countries we talk about have a way of recycling their waste, and it starts from the point of collection. And as I say, start with the citizen. In some countries, when you want to dispose your waste, there's a place you dispose bottle, there's a place you dispose can, there's a place you dispose PET bottle, there's a place you dispose burnables, there's a place you even dispose your paper. You don't throw them away, you put them in the shredder, and then it is packed and sent back to the factory where this paper is made from. And so they can tackle that and use as a raw material to produce more papers. So we should, as a government and as a people, think in that direction. Waste should not, be disposed in that manner, and that should be something that NEMA and the government should create more awareness, and as a matter of fact, attach incentives into waste disposal. To dispose this waste properly, you have an incentive, and with that, we can have more waste for site recycling, and that can help us even create more jobs.
All right, thank you. We actually have Ibrahim Farilui on right now. Good morning, Ibrahim Farilui. Hello, good morning, sir. Okay, I don't know why it's difficult for us.
We're trying to establish communication with him. I think
Hello.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, ma. Thank you, ma.
All right. So it's you sent an alert, right? It's an advisory for Nigerians who live in areas that could be flooded when the rains come. And it's already 2 days in, right? Do you think this information is coming a little late? We're already 2 days in. What can be done within such a short space of time to alleviate this situation?
It's not too late. It's a weather forecast, and you get details and release it as soon as you get information. The predictions is 50-50%. We don't have control over what is divine, what is natural. So when we get the information, it's a information sharing. We collect information from different agencies, and as soon as we collect it, we try as much as possible to verify it. This release was released throughout last week. We've been having issues where bridges have been swept off in the northern part of the country. 1 or 2, 3 communities have been disrupted. Their normal life have been disrupted. So when this one came, we felt it's so necessary as early as possible to release it as soon as we verify the alert.
Interesting.
All right. Now we know that with the time frame, not many Nigerians will be able to relocate. And some of them have their farmlands in these places. They can't relocate their farmlands. They would have to abandon it for a period of time. Now, what is your agency planning as a way of assisting when the flood really comes and people are affected? Are there measures that you are putting in place to, swing into action when you are called upon to come rescue people that are in trouble?
Let me state, our preparation has started. They have started since January this year.
Okay.
One, we cooperated with Federal Ministry of Water Resources for the proper management of dams. Because with the quantum of rainfall we have seen now, if the dams were half full, as at now, filled up, but as at January, it was almost 99% empty. So that is one of the most effective way of managing excessive rainfall by the release of dams, so that there won't be breakage. Another system we have taken was, before the election, we have carried out a sort of advocacy visits to executive governors and the other respective leaders of community, especially in Lagos and other communities. We've gone door to door. We've gone to Ministry of Environment. We've gone to so many communities that are all spot of flooding, and we've seen the response of the community members. When we talk of relocation, yes, naturally, anywhere in the world is always difficult for people to relocate from their ancestral homes. But we are now making things easy, like from Iketu to Ikorodu. In the last 5 or 20 years, you will see many people will be relocated. I mean, they move out from their houses for 2, 3, 4, 5 months. But these days, based on the proactive measures, hardly will you see them moving out of their houses. Within a week or two, they will return back. About farmland, what the Federal Ministry of Federal Ministry of Agric are adopting now is supplying flood-resistant crops, so that when there is flood, the seedlings or the crops will remain there under the water for some time when the water will recede.
All right. All right.
Interesting.
Further to the relocation, in all the state capitals or sensitive places, we have what we call IDP camps. In Lagos, we have Agbowa IDP camp. We have IDP camp in Ikotun. Aside from that, any public place, either church, mosque, schools, are also termed as IDP camps, as well as families that relocate to their relations. We will have to reach out to them, because the global standard is wherever a victims of disaster is, it is mandatory we take services to where they feel comfortable and safe for them. So it is the responsibility of emergency management agencies, NEMA, LASEMA, Federal Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Water Resources, and their state counterpart, to reach out to any displaced persons at their comfortable and safe places they decided to relocate.
All right. Mr. Farin-Louis, every year, right, so we come up, there's this advisory alerts on proposed flooding every year. So one would think that before the rainy season comes, there would be measures to tackle this problem. What measures can government put in place to permanently tackle the situation of flooding?
Well, as I said earlier, as early as January, after the review of 2022 flooding, let me state this. Let us praise Lagos State government. Lagos State is highly populated. And aside from that, the resources, the fund, one of the most difficult things across the world is disaster risk reduction strategy. For government to invest in it, the strategy is to reduce the impact of disasters. And if you cannot prevent it entirely, the last 10 years, we've been having regular rainfall truly. But the rainfall this year, the quantum of rainfall we are going to get this year, it will be unprecedented. Now, if based on last year, Lagos State government, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, other National Assembly members, and some individuals upgraded and expanded their canals and drainages. Now, what you are going to have now is even more than what you are anticipating to have. So the mitigative aspect of disaster risk reduction is what we are doing now. For instance, the people are not helping matters. Lagos State government in certain areas in Alimosho, Ikola, Ishagun, Aboru, we were there. We negotiated with the State Minister of Environment. They worked on their canals and expanded it deeper and higher. They did embankments. Unfortunately, the people started cutting away those materials that are used, that are supposed to save them. They started cutting it to fill 1 or 2, 3 places in their houses. Some even spread it to start farming with it. So these are issues. And we have been to this community, and the community suffered most last year. We were there. We went there to distribute this house before they now felt it was strong for us because the government has started doing something. The road was bad. They were given excuses of a bad road and other things, and they built on flood path. And still, because emergency management doesn't have anything to do with whether you occupy a land legally or illegally. Okay. Wherever you are, we are to provide safety for you. But still, they don't feel it is safe for them to cooperate with government to prevent overflowing of the canals. So these are some of the, like this program now, it is some of the issues that when we raise it and put it out, some of the community members we hear, and I think some of them reported and they came to us, they told us number of houses, and we were there, we saw it, and we are taking action against them.
All right, now we do know that some Nigerians are in the habit of, disposing their waste indiscriminately. Other guests also pointed to that fact. Now, are you, aside from going door to door, encouraging people to expand their gutters, are you trying to encourage people on how best to dispose their waste? Are you telling them how best to clear the canals and other things?
Yes, the Ministry of Environment has a special department of solid waste management, and the local government has a special unit in the local government called emergency flood abatement gangs. All these people are being deployed. For instance, if there is a rainfall, the gang members clear that drainage which that was filled up with solid waste.
Okay.
Immediately after the rainfall, from nowhere, the solid waste will come back there, will be thrown back there to fill up the space. Unfortunately, the community members will not raise any alarm, neither will they help to clear the frontage of the house. They will be expecting government to come back to that place to do it. So solid waste management is not a matter of direct government, it shouldn't be a government effort alone. It should be communal-based effort, because when disaster occurs, it affects the people themselves, but they don't care whether it affects them. Simple something that will not take them up to 5 or 10 minutes to clear and put in a shack and put beside, so that the solid waste management lawman that we all know can pick it up, but they won't do that and wait for government. About the management. Many recycling are situated in the Ikorodu and up to Shagamu, and from different parts of the country bring in solid waste, and they make millions of naira from it for recycling. There are private companies that are doing that. So the excuse of saying you cannot do it, or maybe laziness in part of some youths or some people who doesn't want to utilize it. I know so many communities outside Lagos that are bringing solid waste. So many people are also doing that. If you go to areas like the FM, the railway park, you will see, before you get to Bond FM, you see a very massive area where bottled waters, takeaway empty cans were kept. At times, they will come and pick it with 2 or 3, 4, 5 trailers and take it away for sales. If we can do this to raise money, it will reduce poverty. Poverty is the major factor that exposes people to disasters and poverty make people to be more vulnerable to disasters. But if you can make use of this to empower yourself, it's a very good means. So waste management is all encompassing and it's everybody's business.
All right. Now, you did say something about, you mentioned IDP camps. People can go to IDP camps and all of that. Now, last year we had flooding. Last year, some people were displaced. Were they taken to these IDP camps, like the one in Agbawa, for example? Were they?
Let me state this. Different tribes have their own tradition and culture. In the south here, hardly will you see a family that will allow its member to go into IDP camp because it will be a taboo to the family. The way we respect this and that. So it's in certain parts of the country, some people can go. In Lagos, only very few handful people will go for 2, 3, 4 days. But many people in the southern part of the country and other part and some of the part of the country, we prefer to go and squat the family member. And that was why I said the extended open camping where people who are displaced move to their family or their relations or friends, we are to locate them from those places and provide services to them. So there are different types of camps in disaster management, not less than about 8 to 9 different camps that we adopt. Not only the closed Arbawa and Ikotu, they are closed camps. We have open camps, we have semi-closed open camps, and all those types of campings.
All right. So apparently in your alerts for this year, about 178 local governments, including 32 states, stand to be at risk of being flooded. And, local government chairmen have been asked to do a system called absorb. They said others are to absorb water from Cameroon. What exactly does that mean?
Well, when others are to receive water,
okay.
Cameroon or Niger Republic excess water from dam coming from those places are not the major half in the country. The major issue is the quantum of rainfall falling from the sky. By the time the soil is saturated, it will absorb little. The dam water from different places are already arranged. We have a Kasambila dam that can accommodate lot of water and hydro energy and hydropower. It's been installed to make use of the containment facilities of water from Cameroon. So the Cameroon or Niger Republic or any other dam are being contained now. What we are contending with is the one that is falling from the sky, either in Lagos or anywhere.
Let me come to John now. All right, John, I want to ask you, do you think Nigeria should reintroduce environmental sanitation as a way of ensuring that people continue to clear, their houses?
The drainages as well.
The drainages in particular. All right, we can't exactly hear you clearly. Let's...
Me?
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead, please.
Good. It's just as if you took the words out from my heart, because that was what I was actually thinking. And let me say thank you and kudos to NEMA on what they've been doing. But quickly, let me give them some hints in terms of some of the issues that he has raised. One is this issue of the communities. They are under the local government, okay? And if the government is trying to expand their waterways and dredge it to make it deeper and all of that, please let the government also know that they have a representative. That's the local government. And the local government have what we call the CDAs. So when you are to work in a particular area, call all the CDA chairmen together, local government chairman, and give a standing order. We are hearing this for you today. After today, local government chairman and all CDA chairmen should be held accountable for that region. If that place is blocked again, all of these people will be called to the governor's office to answer questions. And if you start doing that action, you'll see that each of are prone to these areas that will be corrected. 2, I think NEMA should work more on collaboration. And how do I mean? In terms of public enlightenment and awareness, work more with churches, mosques, associations, and clubs, and work more with recycling companies, either government or private, Now, these societal companies will always need raw materials, and the raw material is waste. So the issue of having incentivizing waste collection, how to dispose properly, these are ways that we can always educate our people and then show them how lucrative it is to dispose of your waste normally and how you can earn money from it. By so doing, it will be a collaborative effort from NEMA and all these other agencies that have also highlighted. Lastly, is that we should have checking supervisors from NEMA who check up on all of these communities at intervals, probably every month. So we don't wait until we have a signal huge rainfall is coming. So when we have these seasonal supervisors who go to check these communities once every month, if the people are actually moving in line with the government policy and government orders. If not, they can, come in quickly, correct the messes before the flood comes. And by so doing, you see that everybody will be fine for it. Right. Now, back to your question. I think you want to ask something?
Hello? Yes, you said back to your question. You wanted to respond to the question you asked initially. Yes, concerning the environmental sanitation that we usually do every Saturdays.
Now, I think we have been doing that because I remember in Lagos, every Thursday I don't open my office until it's 10 a.m. and meant that every Thursday of every week.
That's for traders.
That's for the market.
This action, I do it in my office. This action is an action that it's not something that everybody does. And I think the agency of the local government should get now. They have been docile, receiving salaries in their offices, and this is where they ought to do the job. This is where you bring the message to the people. This is grassroots mobilization. When it's time for campaigning, grassroots. But when it's time for awareness and programs like this, you don't know grassroots. So I think this should be reactivated. I think people should be educated street to street. If you can make campaigns, door-to-door campaigns, you can share all of your memorabilia for campaigns. At the same time, share those memorabilia door-to-door. So elect as to the gains in disposing your waste properly, as to how much money you can make when you take your waste to a particular collection center, how and start mini recycling from your own home. These are ways of educating. That's why you're bringing the information to the people. And as a point, I can assure you that the mentality and orientation will change. More people will come into recycling. More people will come into waste collection. More people will dispose waste properly. And we can have a sane society.
All right, All right, then. Thank you very much, John. Now let's come back to the NEMA spokesman, Ibrahim Fariloye. Now let's get your final, words to Nigerians.
Well, just like what the other speaker have said, Alimosho local government, which is the largest local government and where the incident of issues of people vandalizing or sabotaging issue, we have the local government is working assiduously. The community development association members, it's only 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 people that are executive members. But when you see the way the youth behave, when CDS wants to do anything, they must carry these boys along, and when the boys are not ready to do anything, everybody is independent. Everybody knows it's right or wrong. So it's a thing that the communal effort is the real problem. Growing up, the traditional ruler or the leader is very senior leader of a community can command the youths, please. You all of you, about 5 of you, should come and do so things. Or if there was a fire disaster, like from Ibadan, where you have fire station in Ibadan, the vehicle, when you move to Ilesha, no fire vehicle, you move to Osogbo, nothing. So when was fire disaster at that time, the youth will be the one to carry out the fire disasters. But nowadays, even the youth will prevent people from doing their rights if they are not tipped. So these are issues of behavioral parent and I don't know whether the community leadership or the parenthood guidance is no longer there. That is on that. On the waste displacement, I've said what we can do. Which we can do. Then on faith-based organizations and other things, we are training so many faith-based organizations. For instance, in the next 2 weeks, a Catholic church in around Ogba will be 200 members of them on various aspects of first aid and disaster management, basic disaster management that can help the community and their members in their houses and their communities. When disasters, what can they do? So general principle or the safety tips that we can give is listening to radio stations, listening to instructions by NIMET, by NIMA, by or any other statutory agencies that are mandated to manage disasters, and listen to them, carry out instructions, especially in the morning before you leave. Your children, don't send them while the sky is cloudy and it's about to rain. Don't send them on any errand. Then we have spoken with schools. When school is in session and there's heavy rainfall, we have told them not to release the children so that they won't be vulnerable to for being swept off along the waterway.
All right, thank you very much, Ibrahim Fariloye, who is the NEMA spokesperson. Thank you very much. Now, John, let's have your final words as well as we wrap this up. John.
Thank you to Nigerians is that we should be responsible citizens. Let's do our civic responsibility by disposing our waste properly, by making sure that our is clean, by making sure that our waterways are not blocked, and by being responsive, even when our government are not. So I think at this point, fellow Nigerians, please, let's do the needful. Let's save ourselves the damage that is to come through flooding. Thank you.
All right, thank you
John.
once again.
Thank
you, John. Thank you, John. John Akirile is a public affairs commentator. And yes. Now let's go on to entertainment.
Yes, entertainment is quite an interesting one that we have there. It's concerning this popular musician whom we know as Skibi, and he shared his Grace to Grass story, which I'm sure a couple of musicians actually have. So in a very recent podcast interview, the Nigerian artist talks about an array of topics, which includes how he grew up. He said he used to live in Ojuelegba, that he had to engage in different hustles to survive before he became popular. And in his words, he says, "My mom is proud of me. The things where I don't do." In fact, he didn't complete that statement. So after his come up, the singer was able to slowly afford, better things in life, and eventually buy one house. Then eventually 4 additional homes in the highbrow Lekki area peninsula, one of the pricey areas in Lagos State. And then he said that when he bought the first house, he replied that inside Lekki, he has like 5. And how that is, he says, is a testimony to God. He went further to explain how he barely needs to pay for anything aside, from petrol, because he has everything he needs at home, including a recording studio, which brings him money. All right, so you do know that he signed to 5 Star Music on December 24, 2014, under which he released many of his hit songs like Skibi. Moses, that's a good one, isn't it?
Oh yes, it's a good one.
We need to be like that. Have our own studio inside the house, have houses in pricey areas. I mean,
I have my own studio in my house.
But in a high-brow area, like
well,
5 houses.
I have my own studio in my house. Do you have your studio in your house?
Yes, I have my studio is everywhere. I'm in studio.
Well, if you do things that are music or voice related,
yes, of course, you definitely
you would have a studio.
You would have a studio. No
it's
matter
a good
how small
one.
It is.
It's a good one that a young man is investing.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
so let's move on to Sharon Oja. We do know that she's an actress and a very interesting actress as well. She has played good roles in some of the movies that she had to feature in. So, but there is a backlash, which she had to react to concerning a controversial, Yomi Black's controversial The Modern Woman. I don't think this conversation we don't want to get into it, but this is basically what the story is about. So there's this particular movie that was released on the 3rd of June 2023, and the poster and the synopsis quickly made the rounds online as people pointed out the problematic tagline. Now this is the tagline, all right? After settling down with the man of her dreams, a young woman rethinks her decision when she is swallowed by the jaws of a toxic men-hating group of feminists. That's basically what the synopsis said. Now, that's what the synopsis of the movie is about. 24 hours later, Sharon Oja, who plays the lead, reacted to the public outrage. She dissociated herself from the film until the false narrative was used to promote the project is fixed. In her words, "Good morning, everyone. I would like to address that what was shot in the film Modern Woman has nothing to do with the log line used in the press release, not even close. Why the producer decided to use a false narrative is beyond me. I don't align with such negativity. And not long after that public statement, the director, Yomi Black, took to his Instagram page to share a new synopsis. This time around, he tagged it, "A young woman's carefully balanced life, torn between career, family, and love, spirals into chaos when she faces a devastating loss of pregnancy in a fight to reclaim her identity." Wow. So if that outcry wasn't there, or was that deliberate? That tagline, was it deliberate to possibly enrage reaction?
Well, these days we don't know which is which anymore. Yeah, these days, you know.
Because if that hadn't happened, Yomi Black wouldn't have come out to rewrite another tagline, this time around to possibly carefully explain what the movie is all about. So it was deliberate in the first instance.
Probably was. Probably was.
Moses. Okay. All right. This time around is concerning, Davido. And
Davido is on the news
not
again.
Davido. Not Davido. Sorry, I'm so sorry because the situation is kind of similar. It's concerning Banky W. Handsome Banky W. And the story that circulated on social media concerning the fact that he was, Anyways,
Yes. Concerning the fact that he impregnated someone. That's the story.
Yes, that's a story.
Yeah.
And apparently the someone, Neola, has actually stirred emotions online, where after she was captured in a video shedding tears while singing along to a track in the background of the video recording. All right, now the controversial blogger, Gist Lover, they catch... In a report last week revealed that Banky W had been cheating on his wife Adesua Itomi with his side chick Neola. Well, the report claimed that Banky W and Neola, who is said to be pregnant for him, have been seeing each other for 6 years as she shuttles between the United States and America. Neola has now stirred reactions online with a new video online as she was captured remixing a song that she shared with her devoted fan base while committing her life to God. Oh, Moses.
So, shopping between the United States and Nigeria?
She shuttles between Nigeria and the United States.
And the US.
Yes. So maybe the
Shoplin is coming to see him.
Yes.
Oh, well, commenting on this, I don't believe everything I read online.
Of course.
Everything online isn't black and white,
Exactly.
isn't as it appears. Now, I'm not particularly sure that particular blog named names. I'm not sure if it named names. I haven't
She didn't
seen
name
it.
any name, yes. So it was people that picked
That
one
added
and
one.
two.
Okay, so if the blog didn't name names, which is actually what the blog does, puts it out there and allows the public to decipher
React.
and then react as to who they think it is and how they think it went down. Now, it becomes speculation. A lot of people reacted, but I like the fact that the family is still intact.
I like Banky W's reaction to the whole ordeal. Do you know what the reaction was meant to create? There were even speculations that she had filed for divorce and all of that stuff. Where people get this information, we do not know.
People are always happy to pull the family down or see that this family they are going the way of divorce. It just makes certain class of people happy. But I like the fact that the family has been able to handle their issue. If they want to divorce, if they decide to do so later, let it be because they decide that, okay, this is irreconcilable issues going on, not because
based on-
of online in-laws
Wow.
meddling in their personal affairs. Saying, I would also give I'll give the thumbs up to not at this. I'm delving into another story now. I'll give the thumbs up to Chioma, or Davido's wife as well. These things come up. She did say that they shouldn't pity her. She knew the man she married, which I think is a mature statement. She can handle her home. If she decides to walk away later, it's solely her decision. All right. So we wish everybody well, and online in-laws should mind their business.
That's just it. Online in-laws, just mind your business. All right, we'll
But that's
take a
the fun in
breather.
it. That's the fun in it. Everybody delving into every other person's issue.
With this whole social media thing that is in your face, I'm telling you, and controversy always sells, apparently.
Oh well, sports is up next, right?
Yeah, sports is
All right
next.
then. So James Adoye will join us for sports.